Hey YouTube, Larry here. And after last night's Democratic debate, it appears that obviously the Democrats are still up to their same sleazy um, crap of pushing for gun control. Specifically, Pocahontas herself, Elizabeth Warren, is calling for universal background checks. Maybe they need to realize that we already have a universal background check. Everybody that wants to buy a firearm has to go through a background check that, well, pretty much from state to state, I haven't seen too many differences. I mean, obviously, your more democratic states have stricter gun control, which they've proven time and time and time again that gun control doesn't work, and it's never gonna work. The problem with our background checks that we currently have, and why somebody who legally purchases a firearm and then we down the road find out that, well, they'd been admitted to mental health. They've struggled with it for years. Well, we can blame that on one thing and one thing only, and until they get rid of the HIPAA Act, nobody's ever going to get picked up on a background check for any kind of mental health issues. That's just because nobody has legal right to that information, because it's client doctor privilege that, well, it gets covered over, so nobody knows about it. And until they fix that issue, making it mandatory that even though the HIPAA Act covers everybody, from their personal information getting out there, if it's a specific thing such as mental health, it needs to be changed in the HIPAA Act that this information is able to be released to law enforcement, so that way when people do a background check and they check that little box that says, no, I haven't, been seen for any kind of mental health issues, blah, 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 it will throw up a red flag and they will be denied. If you look at other places where gun control is already being used, such as your school zones, pretty much a lot of your blue states, California, New York, let's just go with Chicago by itself as a city. They've got the strictest gun control laws in the United States, and yet they also have the highest crime rate by use of a firearm. So, for those of you who, think gun control will make everything better, it won't, because you're taking guns out of the hands of people like myself or your own personal family members who may, own firearms, whether you like it or not. You're actually disciplining the wrong people. Everybody blames guns for people being shot. It's not the gun's fault. The gun's just a tool. The person who used it is the criminal. And nobody has a criminal record until they get caught. That includes your gangbangers, your drug dealers, your mass murderers. Most of them blend in with the public. Look at the past when it came down to Jeffrey Dahmer. Look at, other serial killers. They all blended in with the public. They appeared to have nothing wrong with them, and all of a sudden something happened and they get caught. And did we blame the gun, the knife, the rope, did we blame all that for the people that, for them killing somebody? No. We blamed the person. And the problem with this country right now is they continue to feed you a line of bull when they want to blame guns. Guns don't kill people. People kill people, whether it's with a knife, a baseball bat, their bare hands, a rope, a car, or a firearm. But when it comes down to it, the method how they kill somebody, they use a tool to do it. Gun control, taking the guns away from, law-abiding citizens, is not going to make the world a safer place. It's actually going to make it a more dangerous place, because fewer guns that are in the hands of law-abiding citizens leaves it up to the cops to be able to protect you. Unfortunately, there's not a city around that has enough cops to protect everybody, and most of the time, I live in a city of, they actually consider just the city I live in 500,000, 650,000 people, and then you have surrounding communities that are all, technically part of our metro area, which would push it well over 1 million. But there's not enough cops in all of the area that they can respond to calls quick enough, because they're dealing with other things and have to finish what they're doing before they can respond to the next call. And I've worked for companies that, well, were high priority because, one, they were a financial institution, and I actually worked security for them, and we dealt with a lot of homeless who carry weapons. And it would still take the cops 30 minutes, 20 if we were lucky, and we were within 4 blocks of the police station. The cops just don't have the manpower to protect us, and by the time they get there, it's too late. So I would much rather be able to have the chance to protect myself. Yeah, I may die, but at least I have the option for a chance to live, because there's no fleeing if somebody's going to carjack you. There's no fleeing if somebody's going to, mug you. Somebody breaks in your house in the middle of the night, they've technically got the upper hand, because you don't know they're in there unless you heard them break in. So, this country is not going to fix itself with the liberal left honestly believing that gun control is going to work, when every state or city that's liberal, it doesn't work. Their crime rate's higher than anywhere else in the United States. I mean, Chicago has, not even half the population of New York, but per capita, they have the highest murder rate in the United States and the strictest gun laws. So if anybody who watches this video and honestly believes taking guns away from people or making them harder for us law-abiding citizens to get is going to fix the issue, I'm all ears, because I'm just giving you the facts that a lot of these guys who have committed, heinous acts of violence in the last, we'll go back to Sandy Hook back in, 2012, and they all had mental health issues, but they can pass a background check, or they can steal firearms from their own family members. it just doesn't make sense to blame guns, because guns they sit here and do nothing unless you use them. So when it comes down to it, who do we blame when it comes down to somebody being bullied? We blame the bully. So, why don't we get back to blaming the people themselves that actually commit this act, and stop blaming an inanimate object that is nothing more than a tool, and look at a way we can fix it with the way that it currently stands. Right now it currently stands that the HIPAA Act controls parts of the background check so people can pass it even though they've got mental health issues. So they've got to put a stipulation in there, keep the HIPAA Act, but put a stipulation in there that allows a psychiatrist or a social worker, or even just a regular physician who sees mental health issues with a specific individual, so they can report that stuff directly to the police, and then that way it's noted in their on record. So when this person tries to buy a firearm, they can't. Now they'll have to find other means, because if you take guns away from the citizens, I got news for you. Criminals are still going to have them. And if they know that nobody has guns, they're just going to ramp up their terror that they already cause, in every city around the country. So you people that are either middle of the road or on the left really need to think logically and not listen to the bullshit that the government likes to push, and also stop listening to the media, because the media, they don't report news, they report their opinion. It's been proven time and time again by the news station itself has it even, their higher ups have all admitted to it. CNN, it wasn't too long ago, their president turned around and admitted, our news reporters do not report the news. They report their opinion. So keep believing their bullshit, and by doing that, you're going to end up pushing an envelope that doesn't need to be pushed. Yes, there are other issues in this country that are a lot more important right now than, trying to figure out how we can, stop these mass murders from, happening or whatever. How about we look at, how can we fix the divide between the nationalities in this country that, unfortunately, our last president's the one that pushed the wedge between the blacks and the whites, and the Mexicans and the whites. And I'm pure-blooded white boy who happens to have Hispanic kids, and I've got a lot of friends who are Hispanic, Mexican, they're black, Asian, treat everybody the same. As long as people treat me right, I treat them right, and vice versa. If they mistreat me, well, then I don't talk to them anymore. It's as simple as that. And if it bothers them, they know that they can come talk to me about it. Just like if they do something that I don't like, I can go talk to them. We can get it hashed out, in a civilized manner. We don't have to turn around and go out on these, what the left likes to call protests that aren't really protests. If you want to know what a true protest is, go look at the women with their, back in the 60s when they were fighting for their rights to vote and all this other stuff. They were doing sit-ins, bra burning, they did all kinds of crazy things, but they weren't disrespecting other people and their opinion. They weren't disrespecting the country by burning flags. They weren't disrespecting the people who fight for this country by, not standing for our national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance. The problem is government has gotten their hands into too many things, specifically religion, the schools, and they need to stay out of it because the government answers to us, not the other way around. So, any of you who are on the fence about firearms or gun control, or are completely, strictly against people owning guns, you need to realize that that Second Amendment allows you to have that opinion, because if civilians don't have a way to fight back, the government owns you. They will own everything about you. Slavery will be back. You'll be paying higher taxes than you could ever imagine and won't have a pot to piss in. Just like neither will I. And that's why I'm pro Second Amendment, because it protects you, all your other rights. Because the government can't control you as long as there's civilians who have guns, because, the government knows that they would end up in a fight that they can't win, because the military isn't going to stand up for them. There are so many military members who, they're just grunts, they're enlisted. They have no political affiliation with the government because, they're not high enough up in the officer status or whatever the case may be, and they have a lot of family who believe in the Second Amendment. And last time I checked, they take an oath to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies. So whoever is threatening the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights goes along with that, and everything else, they're going to defend it before they defend you or the government. Because if the government becomes tyrannical, the military is not going to listen to them, because there's too many of them that will not go against their own family. So keep that in mind. So, I would love to hear everybody's opinion on, specifically, I'd love to hear the liberal left's opinion on why they think gun control would work. And I'll be more than happy to answer back to you and let you know why it won't work. So until then, have a good one.